Welcome to Two Idiots and a Dog presents Serial Idiocy.
Our take on a true crime podcast.
What? No.
A podcast about breakfast cereal?
You're being intentionally obtuse, aren't you?
Fine. A discussion of serialized media such as TV or streaming shows.
I'm Grimm.
I think I'm Zolgar, but I'm too tired to know for sure.
And Kaiju is napping behind me.
'Cause she's a good dog.
So this week we're going to talk about Trigun Stampede, which is, for those that don't know, a remake / reboot of the Trigun franchise that was released this year, in fact.
And it is currently available streaming on Hulu, Crunchyroll, and Amazon Prime. We decided to go ahead and do an episode on Trigun Stampede because we both just watched it over the weekend and were pleasantly surprised.
I didn't expect it to be terrible going in, but I wasn't sure how it was going to hold up. There are a few things that rankle. We'll get into that. But first, consider this your obligatory spoiler warning. We're going to try to avoid major stuff, but we might still bring some stuff up. So if you have not watched Trigun Stampede, that's your warning.
Yeah, like I say, we're going to try to keep from revealing like really big things, but, well, it's kind of hard to talk about a show like this without spoiling a little bit, unless we only talk about it for 10 minutes.
I'm good with a 10-minute episode.
I think we should try to do at least 15 minutes.
Fine. See how you are. All right, so the big thing, and this is technically unconfirmed, but we both kind of agree on it. The season of Trigun Stampede that we have right now really feels like a prequel.
Yeah. It starts earlier than the events of the original, covers a lot more of the backstory of Vash and Knives. It kind of closes off fairly early in the events of the original.
Yeah.
Sort of.
This is where that spoiler warning comes in. The main events of Trigun Stampede so far to date, as of recording, cover about the first half of the original Trigun. It culminates in a certain event. It is a keystone event in the series, both this series and the original series, but it only happens like halfway through the original Trigun. So, also the exact details of that event are very different.
Oh, so very different. Of course, the exact details of a lot of things are very different.
Yeah. I guess we should start with that. Let's just start with differences. Some of these we like, some of these we didn't like.
Okay, let's be honest. This gets weirder so much faster than the original does.
It really does. Also, the power scale is way different. The original Trigun was a little more grounded, despite how ridiculous it got.
This is a lot more, anime power level. That's the best way to put it.
This is truly anime Trigun at this point.
It's not quite shonen anime level, but you can see shonen from here.
Yeah. Bear in mind, we mean strictly power level, not the formula, because this doesn't have anything even close to that formula.
Yeah. Just the power level is what I meant.
Just the power level. Yeah, just wanted to clarify. So,
they left out Millie, goddammit.
It's a fucking crime. It's a crime, and they should feel bad.
That is probably the biggest thing that we both agree on is just wrong with this one.
Now, additional spoiler warning the second. They do name drop her in the final episode. However, fuck you for not including her.
Now, the reason they didn't include her is kind of an interesting twist, because we do start off with Meryl as a new recruit, and she is saddled with this grumpy old drunk alcoholic named Roberto De Niro.
No matter how many times we say it, it doesn't stop hurting.
I just find it funny as hell, personally.
It's horrible. Yeah, you heard that right. Roberto De Niro.
And he serves as both a mentor to her and kind of a vehicle to turn her into the person she is in the original.
Yeah.
Without going into spoilers.
This Meryl is very different at times, but she still has that fire.
Oh, yes, she still has that fire so much.
Honestly, she spends a decent portion of this kind of damseling all over, unfortunately. But towards the end of it, we start seeing...
We see the strength that we know she is capable of.
Yeah. The next two things I didn't like are... Full disclosure, it's Old Bun yells at Cloud moment. And I fully recognize that. These are things that were changed that don't actually take away from the new Trigun, but I don't like them.
Because you don't like change.
Not on this scale. So first of all, I do not like the new opening theme song.
I personally do. I think it's really nice.
For me, it doesn't even come close to the old theme song. Like, they're clearly going for, something that's a little more, emotional and introspective and okay, but that's not the Trigun opening to me, and it never will be. And then there's Vash's redesign.
I do have to say, the new arm is fucking awesome.
It is. It's a little weird, and it took me a little bit to get used to. I feel like it isn't featured as prominently as it maybe should be.
Because that thing is so cool.
Especially considering, like, towards the end of it, all of a sudden it's got new gadgets and gizmos that I'm just like, why aren't we using these the whole time?
Because he got upgraded.
He didn't get upgraded, he got repaired. There's a difference.
I personally assume that he was upgraded when he was repaired.
Yeah, but you can't make assumptions like that. Not in anime, it has to be spelled out. That's how anime work.
Yeah, well, your face.
Your face. Anyway, the main thing about the redesign I don't like is the hair. It's not bad hair, but I want my fucking broomhead back.
Now, he did have it for just a moment.
Oh, so very briefly.
But also, I mean, the hair definitely was kind of a little bit odd. That kind of really, to me, falls into the category of... okay, this is kind of a roundabout way of saying something, but Trigun Stampede did a really good job of bridging the gap between making something to appeal to fans of the original and making something to appeal to new fans, which is something that a lot of times in a project like this, they fail to do.
Yeah.
And the hair, I think, is something that was definitely this is for the new, younger fans. Because...
I still don't like it.
Well, that's because you are an old.
Your face isn't old.
Oh, but also you should like the hair because it's gay hair.
Just because it's gay doesn't mean I have to like it. That's not how being queer works.
Lies.
I want to point out, even the things that I say I don't like, with the exception of not having Millie, because that is unforgivable and bad, and you should feel bad. My dislike of those other elements is just that, just dislike. I'm not saying it ruins the show or anything like that. I just personally didn't like them.
But one other thing that you pointed out when we were first talking about this, and it's definitely worth pointing out that it is a major deviation from the original, which is that this one, it opens up with the ships crashing. It opens up with the idea that
these are colony ships that have crashed in an alien world.
Yeah. It reveals some of the big things from the original a lot earlier. And I look at that as something that was done for the old fans. Because if Grimm or I are sitting there watching this, we're going to be going, okay, we know what this is. So when it's finally revealed, it's not really a reveal.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it fucks with the pacing, and I don't like it. Ultimately, does it actually fully detract from the show and, again, make it a bad show that's unwatchable? No. It's just something they did with the pacing that I didn't like.
I don't think it adversely affected the pacing at all.
Well, you're allowed to be wrong.
I actually think that both in terms of, for the fans of the original who already know this stuff, and honestly for the new fans who are used to a different form of storytelling, I think that the way it was paced actually worked a lot better for a modern show. That is, once again, not to say anything bad about how the original was done, but it was created for an audience 30 years ago.
I would have liked at least a little more lead time before they hit us with some of that. Like I said, purely my opinion. Doesn't actually ruin the show or make it bad in any way. And if anybody's wondering why I keep stressing that, it's because there are way too many fans of old shows that get remade that will take differences like this and use it to decry the new show as worthless, and that's bullshit.
Don't forget that if the new version is too much like the original, then, oh, well, it's nothing new.
Which I think is a great time to sit here and also point out that while I don't like some of these changes, I also did not want this to be a by-rote, perfect retelling of the original series either. If you're going to do that, don't bother.
Yeah, if you're going to do a by-rote retelling of the original, just re-release the original.
Just remaster the animation for the original and call it good. Don't even bother with a new script or new voice lines or new actors. Just don't bother. You're wasting everybody's time if you're just going to do another by-rote, verbatim, frame-by-frame remake. I actually think verbatim, by-rote, frame-for-frame remakes are a waste of everyone's time. And that's movies, television, video games, music. If you do a cover of a song and I can't tell it apart from the original, on the one hand, sure, props for sounding like that other artist, but on the other hand, like, why did you bother? Put a little of yourself in it. Come on. That is, of course, my personal opinion. I am glad they did not try to do that. If they had tried to do that, it would have failed miserably.
Yeah, I definitely agree there.
There are a few other things they did here and there that are minor little things. I'm going to spoiler, again, one of them, because while it's not a plot point per se, it is awfully... If you're a fan of the original, the reveal is jarring. And cool, but jarring. And that is the change they made to the Cross Punisher, Wolfwood's weapon. It is still a dual barrel weapon, depending on which side of the cross he's aiming at you. But they got rid of the rocket launcher.
And instead, it's got a fucking laser.
And it is awesome.
Did you notice the other thing that was missing from the Cross Punisher?
We haven't seen it yet, so we don't know for sure if it is or isn't, and that is the gun racks.
Yeah.
We have not seen him use a pistol. He goes straight into the Cross Punisher. But yeah, the change of the Cross Punisher is interesting, and we don't know if there is a gun rack on it or not. We haven't seen anything to say one way or the other. It still has a primary machine gun, and as I just said, they changed the secondary to a laser, and it is fucking awesome.
Though we only see it once.
Twice.
When's the second time he uses a laser?
When he domes Monev, he uses the laser, not the machine gun.
I thought it was a bullet.
No, that was the laser. Because Monev was practically bulletproof, remember?
But, I mean, that was still a headshot, so...
A helmeted headshot. Anyway, the main time we see it is with the Grand Worm. Or Great Worm, or whatever the fuck they called it.
The Graboid.
Graboids wish they could be these things.
Yeah, honestly, that thing is closer to a dune sandworm.
I mean, just the interconnected weirdness of the species itself is fascinating, especially once you factor in Zazi's existence.
Yeah.
But that's going to be dealing with some stuff we probably shouldn't cover, because Talk about spoiler shit.
That's actually another one that I'm really surprised I didn't see anyone cosplaying out at SAC Anime.
Zazie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, actually, that's a good segue to bring that up. So, part of what made me decide to actually sit down and watch this was the fact that I was out at SAC Anime the weekend of Labor Day, and I saw so many Trigun cosplayers, and specifically new Trigun cosplayers. And I'm not saying that people don't cosplay things that are bad, but there is a little bit of a correlation between the quality of something and how many cosplayers you see of it.
Yeah. And the character design slap.
Oh, yeah.
Even the design choices I don't like still slap. There is, however, one other divergence that I want to touch on briefly. It's not really a major plot point or a spoiler or anything, but it is something I noted that I find interesting. They changed the caliber of his gun.
To a very fitting caliber for Vash.
Yep. It is now 22 long rifle.
Which, if you're not familiar with firearms, 22 long rifle is barely more powerful than a BB gun.
You can kill someone with a 22, but you kind of got to work for it. You got to be real close.
Honestly, there are some BB guns that are more powerful than some 22s you can get a hold of.
Yeah. I just found it to be it is definitely an appropriate round for Vash, who doesn't like violence to begin with and definitely doesn't want to kill anybody. I just found it to be a really interesting choice.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah. So we got some deviations in characterization that we kind of touched on already. Mainly, we're watching Meryl become the Meryl us older fans are more familiar with. And as always, those characterizations would not be possible without the amazing voice talent behind them.
We've got some good voice talent in this.
We have a single returning member of the cast.
And arguably one of the most important members of the cast.
Johnny Young Bosch returns as Vash the Stampede.
For the English, of course.
For the English, yeah. We both watched the dub. Yes, we know. I just didn't have the energy to read my TV. Okay? Shush.
Look, I'm just going to come out and say it. If you're someone who's going to sit there and judge us for watching anime with dubbing instead of subtitles, kindly fuck off.
So Meryl is played by Sarah Roach. Millions Knives is Austin Tyndall. And, all right, I'll fucking name drop him just because he was so fucking everywhere in this season, but I still hate the fucking character. Roberto was voiced by Ben Bryant. By the way, that's not a reflection on Ben's performance. I just think the entire existence of Roberto De Niro is fucking stupid. That is literally the character's name. I'm not making a joke.
Now, to be fair, you never get his last name in the series. We only know his name is Roberto De Niro because of looking at cast lists.
But still, Nicholas D. Wolfwood is, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, David Matranga, who most people will recognize as the English voice actor for Todoroki from My Hero Academia. And that's just the top billing characters. There's so many more characters in here that have great voice actors. We would be here all day if we tried to give them all their due credit. Whatever minor issues I might have with Trigun Stampede, the voice acting has nothing to do with any of them. Everybody did a great job.
The voice acting was definitely top notch. Hey, studios, pay your voice actors better.
By the way, pay your fucking talent. So we had a decent voice. We had, the characterizations that we've touched on very briefly here. The problem is getting into these characterizations in more detail is going to lead us to spoiler territory. And we are trying to actually reduce the number of spoilers that we're stating here.
Yeah, because there are some big things in this that are major events and major changes to events.
Yeah.
I should also apologize. If I seem a little bit out of it, it's because I am currently sitting at about 19 hours awake.
Nah. Who needs sleep? Certainly not us. So anyway, I think that we'll just carry on the theme of listening to the show and go into the music. I do not like the new theme. That does not mean the new theme is bad. I want to make that very clear. It is a good song.
Because I actually really like it.
It is a good song. I just don't like it as the main theme, especially when compared to the previous theme from the original. It is a good song, though. And all of the ambient music we get throughout the series is really good. It fits the mood. It's that perfect level of not standing out enough to pull you out of the scene, but not so terrible that it also pulls you out of the scene. Everything flows really well with it.
Yeah. Overall, between the music and the non-vocal sounds, definitely very good sound design.
I think my favorite sound design is actually the worms.
Yeah.
All the various iterations of the worms, because the worms are not just the singular worms. It's implied at one point, if not outright stated, that they are interconnected, and all the various little types of worm that you see are actually parts of an interconnected networked organism and or species. Unclear. Not enough data yet. But all those various little stages that we see, from the little firefly looking fuckers to the mid-sized worms to the great worms, are amazing. Really sold them.
Yeah. The worms were cool.
Sound design extends into other effects such as firearms discharges. Whenever weird, freaky plant powers activate, we get some really interesting sound effects on that stuff. And again, all of it works really well to keep you in the moment and not pull you completely out of it. That's all I got on that. You got anything you want to add to that?
Not for sound.
All right, well, let's go on to the other thing that makes a piece of art, visuals.
Okay. The animation is just fucking awesome.
It is. Vibrant colors, which is a great... Like, the original Trigun still tried to strike a balance between dusty brown Western / post-apocalypse vibes while still contrasting that with bright, colorful characters. We actually get more color in the backgrounds in this series, in Stampede.
I just made a connection.
Yeah.
Trigun Stampede looks like what you would get if the people who made Borderlands made an anime.
Kinda. You're not far off.
Especially July.
Oh, yeah, definitely July. The backgrounds, visuals, the animations, the character designs, even with me not liking some of the choices made in those designs are still good. Like, the people that put this together clearly put work into it.
They did an amazing job with the designs. Like I say, I think they did a really good job bringing some of the designs to a modern audience.
How they went to do about certain things did produce more of a visual spectacle in spots, which I don't know if that's why they did them that way or if that just happened to be kismet. But I liked it. It worked. There's a few spots where the animation itself gets a little weird, though. This was clearly modeled and animated because that's becoming more and more common with animation in general.
Because it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah, well, and we're not here to start a conversation on that aspect of it, but it is necessary to point that out because some of the animations, meaning the actual actions of the characters we see, are physically a little odd in spots.
They definitely had an artificial vibe to them.
Yeah. There's an early spot in where Roberto De Niro every time I say the name, it's just like I have something awful in my mouth.
Well, just say Roberto then, God damn it.
There's a spot early in where he's talking to Meryl, his newbie, and his animations while he's sitting in the car and talking to her, particularly in the neck and shoulders, is so exaggerated that it feels more like a caricature of a person than a person, which kind of threw me a little bit, but I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did. There's another element where he's talking to her in a car in an episode further in, and there it really works because he's trying to basically tell her a ghost story to freak her out. So he's being over the top and campy. And no one was ever seen again, newbie! That type of thing. So that worked. But there are other places where it did just kind of feel out of place and kind of took me out of the moment a little bit. But overall, the animations are still solid, especially the action pieces.
Oh yeah, the action was amazing.
I particularly enjoyed watching Vash scramble around being shot at.
I think one of my favorites was the fight between Wolfwood and Two Cross Guns.
Livio the Twin Fang.
Livio, yeah. I knew there was a V in the name, but I'm bad with names anyways, and I'm tired as fuck. So
yeah. So we get some of that there. Like there's really great visuals. Like I said, some of the animations, individual animations, feel a little weird, but it still works. I enjoyed it overall. How about that July? Like, we don't need to go into detail because spoiler, but how about that July?
That city was awesome.
The city was awesome, and what happened in the city was awesome.
That finale was too short. I'm sorry. I want to see more of that.
Yeah. I am hoping... So, full disclosure, from what I have seen of this, they are gearing up for a second season. I am hoping it happens. I think I mentioned it earlier. What we've gotten so far only takes us to about halfway through the original series. What happens and when they happen and how they happen are different, but some of the main keynote events have happened at this point to make me think that we're supposed to get more based on what's happened.
Yeah. Think we're going to get a second season. I hope we're going to get a second season. I will watch the shit out of it if we get a second season.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, I basically more or less binged it, so.
Yeah, same. I started it Saturday night?
I think I started mine Friday night.
Okay, no, I started mine Friday night as well. Yeah, that's right. I started Friday night. I didn't really have much of a chance to watch. I think I watched a couple of episodes Saturday night, but didn't have a chance to really watch Sunday night. Watched a couple episodes on my layover in Los Angeles, and then finished it up when I got home.
Yeah. I honestly don't have much more to talk about that wouldn't be spoilers.
Okay, here's a major spoiler for you. Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Oh, well, now I guess I don't need to go watch Star Wars. Thanks. Fuck, dude. I really don't. I don't have anything else to talk about that's not a spoiler. It's good. That's it. It's good.
Well, I guess that's it for this week.
We hope you enjoyed this slightly experimental episode of Serial Idiocy.
If you did, please consider rating, reviewing, following, and all of that other nonsense on your favorite podcast. On your favorite podcast.
If you'd like to tell us how much of idiots we are, or send Kaiju fan mail, you can email us at tiaadmedia@gmail.com, or you can join us on Discord and the various social media platforms linked in the show notes. Make sure you give Zilgar shit for that last line.
Fuck off. We should also promo another podcast or something.
It sounds like a terrible idea. Let's do it.
But who?
I don't know. Hey, let's see what happens when I push this button. There you are.
Grimm, what the fuck is wrong with you this time?
Nothing, my good sir. You see, it is just, I am now a patron of the arts.
Okay, the fuck is he on this time?
I have supported a noble artiste in her stalwart pursuits. Surely you wish to do the same, Quite.
The fuck are you on about this time?
Surely if you enjoy art and support the arts, you will reach out to a creative yourself and support their endeavors. Yes? I heartily recommend Tundra Katie Bean.
So, wait, you mean the artist who made our logo?
Indeed.
Grimm, I already know I can support her on Ko-fi and Patreon under the name Tundra Katie Bean.
Then my work here is done. I shall now retire for an evening constitutional.
Which apparently for him means stagger into bed. Well, I guess he wasn't entirely wrong. Just crazy. You can, in fact, support the very same artist who made our logo on Ko-fi and Patreon. Once again, that was Tundra Katie Bean.
And her patrons get first crack at new art before public sale.
Well, lead with that next time, you dingbat. We'd also like to... God, I can't fucking talk. We'd also like to give a quick thank you to our supporters on Patreon and Ko-fi.
Especially these idiots.
Random Warrior, Rain, and, he can be unbanned this week. Athen Mortis.
Really? You're gonna unban him?
Just this one time. Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you, or at least it wouldn't be quite as much fun.
Also, if you like what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon or Ko-fi. But God, why would you?
You can get access to episodes a week early, shoutouts in our episodes, and special behind-the-scenes bonus content whenever we finally get around to making some.
At least, if I can actually fucking talk. And also, if we ever actually get sponsors, we won't put commercials for them in our Patreon episodes.
You can find us at patreon.com/TIAAD media and kofi.com/TIAAD media.
Those links are also found in our show notes as well.
And of course, thank you for listening to Two Idiots